Bhangarh Fort, a name whispered with fear, a place where shadows linger. Legend says a sorcerer cursed Bhangarh, doomed it to desolation. No one can stay there after dark. The fort stands on a hillside, overlooking a deserted town. Its silence is unsettling, broken only by the wind whispering through the ruins. Tourists come during the day, drawn by its eerie beauty, but when the sun sets, they leave, fearful of the curse. Tonight, a group will tempt fate. The four friends, Sarah, Ben, Emily, and Chris, stood at the fort's entrance. The ancient structure loomed before them, its weathered stones whispering tales of a bygone era. The fort had always been a place of mystery and legend, a place where history and the supernatural seemed to intertwine. The setting sun cast long shadows stretching across the ground like fingers reaching out to grasp them. The air grew colder with each passing moment, their breath visible in the crisp evening air. It was as if the fort itself was exhaling, welcoming them into its cold embrace. They entered, their laughter echoing in the emptiness. The sound bounced off the ancient walls, creating an eerie symphony that seemed to mock their attempts at levity. Despite their outward bravado, a sense of unease began to settle over them. "Do you think the stories are true?" Emily asked, her voice hushed. The tales of ghosts and lost souls had always fascinated her, but now, standing in the heart of the fort, they felt all too real. "Just legends," Chris scoffed, but his bravado rang hollow. He tried to laugh it off, but the nervous edge in his voice betrayed his true feelings. The fort's oppressive atmosphere was getting to him. They explored the crumbling palaces, their footsteps echoing in the eerie silence. Each step seemed to disturb the stillness, sending ripples through the heavy air. The fort was a labyrinth of shadows and secrets, each corner hiding a piece of its dark history. The air grew heavy, charged with an unseen energy. It was as if the very walls were alive, watching their every move. The friends could feel the weight of the fort's past pressing down on them, a silent reminder of the countless souls who had walked these halls before them. As the last rays of sunlight faded, Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. The fort seemed to come alive in the twilight, its shadows deepening and its secrets growing darker. She wrapped her arms around herself, trying to ward off the cold and the growing sense of dread. Someone was watching them. She could feel it. The sensation was unmistakable, a prickling at the back of her neck that made her skin crawl. She glanced around, but there was no one there. The fort was empty, but the feeling of being watched persisted, growing stronger with each passing moment. Darkness fell. The fort transformed. The once majestic Bhangarh Fort, now a silhouette against the twilight, seemed to breathe with an eerie life of its own. The air grew colder, and an unsettling silence enveloped the ruins, broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves. The fort, shrouded in mystery and legend, had a way of making even the bravest hearts race with trepidation. Shadows danced in the moonlight. They twisted and turned, creating ghostly figures that seemed to move with a life of their own. The moon, high in the sky, cast an ethereal glow, making the ancient stones of the fort appear almost otherworldly. Each shadow seemed to tell a story, a whisper of the past, a hint of the souls that once roamed these grounds. The wind seemed to whisper their names. It carried with it the secrets of the ages, the tales of love and loss, of battles fought and lives lost. The trees, their branches swaying gently, added to the symphony of whispers, creating a haunting melody that resonated through the ruins. It was as if the very essence of the fort was trying to communicate with them, to share its ancient stories. Ben swore he saw a figure watching them from a broken window, a shadowy silhouette that seemed to vanish the moment he tried to focus on it. His heart raced, and he felt a chill run down his spine. Was it a trick of the light, or was there truly someone or something watching them from the shadows? But it was gone in a blink. The window, now empty, seemed to mock him. He shook his head, trying to dispel the unease that had settled over him. The fort was playing tricks on his mind, or so he hoped. Emily felt a cold hand brush her cheek. She gasped, spinning around. Nothing. The sensation was so real, so tangible, that she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Her breath came in short gasps, and she clutched her arms around herself, trying to ward off the cold that seemed to seep into her very bones. Chris laughed nervously, but his laughter died quickly. The sound echoed through the empty halls, amplifying the eerie silence that followed. He tried to put on a brave face, but the fear was evident in his eyes. The fort had a way of getting under their skin, of making them question their own senses. They pressed on deeper into the fort. Each step felt heavier, as if the very ground was trying to hold them back. The corridors seemed to stretch endlessly, and the walls closed in around them. The deeper they went, the more oppressive the atmosphere became, and the more they felt the weight of the fort's history bearing down on them. The air grew thick with the scent of jasmine. It was a sweet, almost intoxicating aroma that seemed out of place in the cold, desolate ruins. The scent was so strong that it felt as if they were walking through a garden in full bloom, yet there was no sign of any flowers. But there were no jasmine flowers in sight. The scent seemed to come from nowhere, adding to the surreal atmosphere. It was as if the fort itself was playing tricks on their senses, blurring the lines between reality and illusion. A low hum began to vibrate through the ground, a haunting melody. It was a sound that seemed to resonate with the very stones of the fort, a deep, throbbing pulse that echoed through the corridors. The hum grew louder, more insistent, as if trying to draw them deeper into the heart of the ruins. It seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. The melody was both beautiful and terrifying, a siren's call that beckoned them forward. They couldn't help but follow, drawn by the mysterious music that seemed to hold the secrets of the fort within its notes. The ruins, alive with whispers and shadows, had ensnared them in its haunting embrace. They reached the palace, their footsteps echoing through the silent night. The air was thick with an eerie stillness, as if the very walls of the ancient structure were holding their breath. Said to belong to Princess Ratnavati. The palace, now in ruins, once stood as a testament to her beauty and grace. Tales of her charm and intelligence were whispered through the corridors, carried by the winds of time. The princess of the legend, cursed to a tragic fate. Her story was one of love and betrayal, of magic and curses. It was said that a sorcerer, smitten by her beauty, cast a spell that led to her untimely demise. A cold wind swept through the courtyard, extinguishing their lantern. The sudden darkness was suffocating, wrapping around them like a shroud. They could feel the weight of the centuries pressing down on them. They were plunged into darkness. Then they saw her, a figure barely visible in the dim light, standing at the far end of the courtyard. It was as if she had stepped out of the very stones of the palace, a translucent figure, glowing faintly in the moonlight. Her presence was both ethereal and haunting, a ghostly reminder of the past. The air around her seemed to shimmer as if reality itself was bending to her will. The silhouette of a woman in a flowing gown, standing at the far end of the courtyard. Her dress, though tattered and worn, still held a regal elegance. She seemed to float above the ground, her movements graceful and otherworldly. "It's her," Ben whispered, his voice trembling. "The princess." His words hung in the air, filled with a mix of awe and terror. They had heard the stories, but seeing her was something entirely different. The figure turned towards them. Her movements were slow, deliberate, as if she was aware of their presence and was acknowledging them. The air grew colder, and they could feel a chill run down their spines. Her eyes, 2 points of cold fire, bore into their souls. They were filled with a sorrow so deep it seemed to transcend time. In that moment they understood the true weight of her curse and the eternal pain she carried. Terror gripped them. They stumbled back, their eyes fixed on the apparition. It glided towards them, floating effortlessly above the ground. The scent of jasmine intensified, chokingly sweet. Emily cried out as she felt an icy hand close around her wrist. The touch sent a jolt of fear through her, paralyzing her. "We have to get out of here," Sarah screamed, her voice raw with terror. They turned and ran, blindly, desperately, through the darkened corridors. The ghostly figure and the chilling laughter that followed them urged them onward. They stumbled through the darkness. The fort seemed to twist and turn around them. Every passage led to a dead end. They were lost. The sound of tinkling bells and laughter echoed around them. It seemed to be coming from the walls themselves. "This way," Chris yelled, pointing to a narrow passageway. As they ran, their hands brushed against something cold and slick. They didn't want to imagine what it was. The air grew heavy, thick with the stench of decay. They burst out into another courtyard, this one bathed in the pale light of the moon. In the center, a well stood like a silent sentinel, its opening a gaping maw of darkness. Suddenly, the ground beneath them began to tremble. The laughter grew louder, more insistent. It was all around them. A blood-curdling scream pierced the night. Emily! They spun around to see her being dragged towards the well. Her fingers scraped against the stone, desperate but futile. Before they could react, she was gone, vanished into the darkness of the well. Only her scream, echoing in the stillness, remained. The laughter died down. An eerie silence descended upon them. They were alone, or so they thought. A cold wind whipped around them, swirling faster, becoming a vortex. The air crackled with energy. From the center of the vortex, a figure began to solidify. Taller and more menacing than any they had seen before, its eyes, burning like hot coals, fixed on them. Trapped, the remaining friends huddled together, their faces pale with terror. They were caught in the heart of the haunting, and there was nowhere left to run.